welcome to Two Wheels, and on this week's show we'll be rejoining our intrepid riders in the Moroccan desert as they take in some spectacular scenery. But of course, being a desert, things can change very quickly. Also this week we'll be joining Wayne in his warehouse where he has an R1 to show us with more bolt-on bits and pieces than you've ever seen. And later I'll be travelling to this year's Speed Freaks ball at Santa Pod. But first, here's Jeff with some advice for those of you thinking of a motorcycle tour.
Now, bike touring, fantastic, brings you to lovely countryside like this, but you perhaps might be thinking, I need a gold ring, a big BMW, or perhaps a ZZR. No, you don't, or perhaps on the other hand, the only luggage you've got is a rucksack, and you think, I can't go touring. You might have one of these, Britain's most popular sports bike, CBR6, but you can go touring. You can kit this up to make it a full touring bike. And there we have it, tank bag, tail pack and panniers. You've now got a full-blown touring bike. Now, none of this soft luggage is expensive. You pays your money and you takes your choice. Of course, I've got this set up for solo use, but if you're carrying a pillion, you might still need that rucksack. Now, talking of rucksacks, if you do get yourself a rucksack and you find you've got to use one, make sure that it's got wide straps like this and they're nicely padded, because it can really be tiring on a long journey. But the other secret is don't put a lot of gear in there, and certainly nothing sharp. So nothing heavy, nothing sharp, something sort of quite bulky, perhaps a waterproof suit, lightweight stuff that you can stick in there. Talking about weight, this whole soft luggage setup here, if you use it to its full, because often you'll find these things have got a zip running around, they actually expand far further, you can actually put loads in, as much as a family suitcase, but what you've got to watch is weight distribution. So don't overdo it when you're there in your lounge or the kitchen and whatnot. It's easy to keep piling stuff in. But you need the weight even on these side cases, you don't want it slewing over one side. Carry the bulky stuff in the tail pack there nicely in the centre. They all follow a similar theme. This one's got Velcro fixed straps here that you drop across the seat, and then the side cases here, they tie on underneath, round the back they've got these little retaining straps here, but they've also always got little eyelets on here, so use a bungee and make sure you're anchoring it down. This one I can hook behind here, on this one when I get it through, go through you devil, and down like you can get through that footrest guard plate there, so hook that through and back on there, that'll pull it sort of forward. Then there's another one at the back, link them both together under there, because no matter how careful you've been, you don't want these to come off, because you just won't know it. If you're travelling solo, you know, you could lose one of these into the back wheel, I've seen it happen, and then you're in serious trouble, so make sure they're secure, whatever you do. Of course, the nice thing is at the end of that long ride, you can just take your soft luggage off. Magnetic tank bag, piece of cake, and then take your side cases off. Make sure all the security straps are off, which they are. Then undo this Velcro or whatever fixing it's got. There we are, either to the campsite or in your hotel. A couple of side cases down there. Then you need to take your tail pack off, just the same. You end up with your hands full, needless to say, but if you've got a passenger, you're okay. So that's there. You often get a shoulder strap on these to make it a bit easier, so you can actually sling it over your shoulder. But if not, there we are. Got nice big hands. Got that tank bag, and there we are. You've got your sports bike back.
Time now to rejoin our riders on day 2 of their trip across the Moroccan desert. On last week's show we saw them mastering the art of high-speed riding across a dry, sandy riverbed. And remember, to some of these people this is a holiday. So this week we'll join them in a rather more picturesque setting.
Second day, we go to Todra Gorge. Tinahir is famous for Todra Gorge. It's a huge gorge, about 1,000-metre high cliffs going straight down to a small stream. It's about 50 foot across at the bottom. That's all on road to there, about 13 k's. We go there, it's mainly for clients to see what is supposed to be Morocco's premier tourist attraction. Have a coffee in one of the hotels in the gorge. 13 k's back out of the gorge again, and we were off-road across an arid plateau, I suppose is the best way to describe it. Very fast in places, gravelly, very slippery on the corners, lots of care has to be taken. It's 98 kilometres off-road, brings us to a place called Gulmima. We'll have lunch in the Palmery at Gulmima.
Of course, it's very important to eat well in the desert. Riding across such terrain uses up huge amounts of energy, and carbohydrates are always high on the menu. But it's not just the riders that need looking after. The bikes too need regular fueling. Petrol stations aren't quite on every corner in the desert, so it's important to plan well ahead and make sure you don't miss the next fuel stop.
Then we come into the small dunes between Gulmima and Erfoud. They range between 2 metres high to about 5 metres high. A little bit tricky because there's camel grass in there, so not only are you trying to go around the dunes, but you're trying to go around the camel grass as well.
Remember, previously we spoke about the climate in the desert being able to change very quickly. Well, during the afternoon, the Land Rover and support crew were to encounter possibly the worst desert scenario, a sandstorm. Now imagine riding behind your local council road gritting wagon at 70 miles an hour for about 30 miles. That's what it's like to ride through a sandstorm, not the place you want to be on a motorcycle. But later in the day, the wind died down, the storm disappeared, and our riders were able to arrive safely at their next stopping point.
Oh dear, life's a peach. Yeah, nice moustache. Yeah, so it's been hard going. We've done about 70 k's in Johnston, something like that, what you can see. A few crashes, a few good get-offs over the bars, one pair of bent bars. Apart from that, we're all back and we're all ready for a beer. Good day's work. Let's go to the bar. I'm drinking beer. Beer help?
Still to come this week after the break, Wayne will be showing us at R1 with more bolt-on bits and pieces than you've ever seen. And I'll be looking at some very impressive pieces of machinery at this year's Speed Freaks Ball at Santa Pod. Welcome back to this week's show, and in just a moment we'll be popping over to Wayne's warehouse where he has a heavily accessorised and very expensive Yamaha R1. And in a while you can see what I got up to at this year's Speed Freaks Ball at Santa Pod. Believe me, it's hot stuff.
Now, we're very often showing you all sorts of bolt-on bits and pieces that you can fit to your fancy pride and joy. But usually we show you them either in my hand or in a blister pack or perhaps in a brochure. So on this occasion we thought we'd throw a few bits and pieces onto a nice R1 like this, and then you can see them in situ. And we're going to start with this fella on the front here, which is a double bubble screen. This particular one's black, but you can get them in all sorts of different colours to match your machine. This is £45 worth. Further down there we've got some flush fitting indicators, and those will cost you £19.50, and if you've noticed they're white, but the bulb is indeed yellow, so you haven't got a problem there. A nice fancy steering damper, and that's made by Sprint, and with the actual bracket that will cost you £260. You think that's a lot of money? What about the full brake system on it? That's an AP racing system, that's the disc, the caliper, oh, the whole shabubble, and that's £1,200 worth. Also fitted to this machine is a fancy super chip reprogrammable ignition system whereby you can change the way you want the engine timing and so on, but that's £193 worth. You think that's not cheap? What about this? This is £660 worth of exhaust system, and that's from Micron. That's the whole header system, the connecting pipe and a fancy titanium end can. Just to make that mount onto the bike and look tidy as well is a fancy Harris hanger system just to hold the exhaust can. That's £40. Then we go down to the footrest hangers. Now they are very, very tasty. The whole lot costs you 310 quid, but it will cost you extra for the carbon heel plates. They're £50 worth. And just to finish off here at the back of the bike, look at that. A nice white colour-coded under tray, £55 worth. Some nice indicators to match as well. Clear lenses to go with these clear lenses. The indicators here are £10 worth, and these clear lenses are, well, 60 odd quid worth. So I don't know if you've been adding it up, but that is a serious amount of money, thousands upon thousands of pounds. There are indeed some people who will spend just as much bolting bits on the bike as they do in buying the bike in the first place. But I haven't finished. Those of you who are astute and you've been looking around this machine, you may have indeed noticed it's not got a fancy shock absorber on it. It's got the original equipment, and here is a nice Penske unit to fit to it, 600 quid worth. So I suppose I better go to the till and pay for all these bits and pieces and my shock absorber, and I just wonder whether I could get it on the old expense account.
If you'd like to find out more about Two Wheels and the people who are involved with it, then you can by logging on to our website. You could even join in with our bike forum, and here is the address. It's www.menandmotors.co.uk.
Triumph Vertical Twin started in 1938, but if we came up to the early 60s, 1961, this is a speed twin, 500cc, now unit construction, gearbox there, heart-shaped timing cover there, very important, that is a Triumph trademark, complete with this little badge there. But as I say, this is a 500, 2 cylinders of 250cc. When they wanted something bigger, what did they do? Well, they went to 650cc, but they also wanted a 750cc. This is Triumph's Trident. In fact, this is the last of the range. The T160 finished production in 1977, but this is the 3-cylinder Triumph. So you can recognise that heart-shaped timing chest there, unit construction gearbox. It's now a 5-speeder, but that's by the by. But as I said, what they did here is actually develop the engine. They simply took a 250cc cylinder and literally stuck it on the end. So now you've got 1 cylinder here on the right, another one in the middle. They've got twin exhausts on it, but that's more of a fashion thing to go around this frame tube. Then the other cylinder on the right. So that's 3 250cc cylinders, making altogether a 750cc. But not sufficient with that. They actually wanted something bigger still. So what did they do? They simply cut off another cylinder and stuck that on the end. And I'll show you that one now. Yeah, this is it yet again, that heart-shaped timing cover. This one probably looks a bit different to you because in fact this one is a BSA version, which was a bit different. The Rocket 3 this is based on, but the engines were basically the same. So what started off as a 500, then went to the 750, now has gone to 1000cc with another cylinder on the end. And how did they do it? Dead simple and a bit crude really. They simply sawed a piece off the crankcase, sawed another piece off the other crankcase and stuck the two together and welded them together straight down the middle there, and the same as straight up through the barrels there. Now, even though the 750 performed incredibly well and beat MVs and all this sort of thing, this was just a one-off prototype made in 1969. But what they ended up with, unfortunately, was an engine which was too big, too complicated and too heavy. Far better, I think, to start off with that clean sheet of paper.
Welcome to Santa Pod, the world famous Santa Pod and mecca for drag racing. This weekend it's home to an event called the Speed Freaks Ball, which, as the name suggests, means that if it's fast it's probably here, and there's a lot of jet powered stuff here as well this weekend, which is incredible stuff, believe me. This pit lane is full of some of the most incredible feats of engineering I have ever seen, so let's go and take a closer look. Now, just to prove that you don't have to have the very latest high-tech kit to have a lot of fun at an event like this, just take a look at this. This is a Norton 850 engine, this would originally have sat in a Norton Commando. Obviously, it's been beefed up where it can be beefed up, but it's still running standard cylinder head, standard cam in there as well. It's been supercharged now, so it's a lot more power than in its original form. This has been running in the British Super Twins class, and this morning it did a run of 10.4 with a speed of 130 mile an hour, which is pretty impressive for an engine like that. The only trouble with owning a bike like this, of this age, is you need to be pretty good with a spanner. Bloody hell! I said there was a lot of jet-powered things here this weekend. Well, here's something a bit different. It's a quad, yeah, pretty obvious that, isn't it? But it's a jet-powered quad. And I am actually sat, or perched, or whatever it is, straddled on a jet engine. This is an engine actually out of a helicopter, but it's been changed a lot now. It's a thrust engine. They've had to develop their own fuel injection, and all sorts of very, very complicated electronics and engineering have gone into this. They've actually built the whole thing from scratch. All the frame, the chassis, everything you see has been built from scratch. I've asked them actually how fast it goes, and they don't know because they've never actually had it flat out. They said they've not developed it for speed, they've developed it for fun. It is a serious amount of fun, believe me. Now there are trikes and there are trikes, and then there is Colossus. I'm not talking about Paul here, Colossus. I'm talking about your trike, Paul, Colossus. A jet-powered trike, yeah?
Yeah, street-legal jet-powered trike.
Now that's, see, when you said to me, come down and see this jet-powered trike which is street-legal, I thought, no, impossible. How could it be street-legal?
Well, it's street-legal, you know.
It's got two engines.
It has, yeah. I've got a Rover V8 up front,
right,
which powers it for road use. And then when we play on the tracks and stuff, or burn cars out, then we use the jet on the back with the afterburner.
Right. What's this jet then? What is it? Where's that come from?
That's a Rolls-Royce APU, which is auxiliary power unit. Right. It's basically a big starter motor for a much bigger jet.
It would have to be a bloody big jet, wouldn't it, if that's the starter motor?
Yeah, quite a size. They use them for helicopters, yeah, and things like that.
So, how fast does it go, this thing, then, when you've got your jet on it?
With a little bit of work with the jet, basically, with all the air bleed altered and everything, it'll push about 1,200 pound of thrust, so it gives the potential of the trike sort of around about the 200 mark.
That's pretty impressive, that.
Yeah.
And I notice you haven't got power steering or anything. I mean, what's it like to drive or ride or whatever?
It's stationary, it's quite hard to steer, but as soon as you're rolling, it's all right, it's not too bad.
Right. Did you set out to do this, or does it just evolve? Did you think, I'm going to build a jet trike?
I kind of got blown away by the Martin Hill's jet cars, Fire Force cars, and I thought, you know, it'd be great. I could never do that, but I thought, well, maybe with his help we could put something on the road with a jet engine on the back, so that's what we did.
And how long's that taking you to do it?
Probably 2.5 years from drawing board to reality.
It's not bad, is it?
It's not bad.
Engineering in this, isn't there?
There is, and I've got a lot to thank Martin for.
Yeah, yeah. Let me ask you this, you know when you go out, you must get some very funny looks. Did you ever get stopped by the police?
Not really. They kind of just look and smile and look in amazement or nearly crash themselves.
I think, what the hell's that?
Yeah, exactly.
So you're never tempted to just sort of flick that on when you know?
I have done a couple of times, but I've had friends in front and friends behind, so nobody got in the middle.
Does it get a big jet out, the big flame out the back and all that, is it?
Yeah, we've got about sort of 13, 14 foot flame that comes out, about a solid column of flame.
Very impressive. Right, what happens now then? I mean, it's done, it's working. People like you normally have other projects up the sleeve or something even bigger and better, Gareth.
Well, maybe, but we'll just have to wait and see about that one.
You're telling us nothing?
Not at this moment in time, but you'll be the first to find out.
And on Two Wheels next week, I'll be back with some more chat with those crazy American riders known as the Starboys. They'll be telling me all about their favourite two-wheel tricks. And Jeff will be taking an even closer look at motorcycle touring for those of you thinking of organising that summer adventure. And of course, speaking of adventures, we'll be back in the desert with our intrepid Moroccan desert riders.